Thank you so much for joining us today on Digging Deep, an Oki 811 podcast. My name is MG Govia. I'm the Education and Outreach Liaison for Oki 811. I'm excited about today's podcast. 811 is very, very important. We're going to be talking about that here in just a moment, but a lot of people may not know just how important that second call may be. And so we're going to talk about private lines and how to get those located and prevent damage at your job sites, on your projects, when it comes to lines above and beyond what 811 does for you. So to get into that topic, I have a guest with me today. His name is Jordan Partlow. He is with Blood Hound Underground Services. And Jordan, let's just start by introductions and let me know a little bit about yourself.
Sure, MG. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this and how important it is to get the message out to everybody, both 811 and private utility lines. Jordan Partlow, I've been in the locating industry for 28 years. After I got out of the military, I was a combat engineer for 5 years in the U.S. Army. Got out and started as a locator in the industry, and that was several years ago. I won't give away my age right off the bat, but yeah. So started as a locator and worked through in the contract locating world in the 811 space for 20 years. Then after that, I went and joined a gas company in the state of Pennsylvania for 3 years, and then I came over to Blood Hound after that, which Blood Hound handles some 811 tickets, but our main concentration is on the private utilities that we'll discuss further in this podcast.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that you have all that experience and you do understand both sides of it. I've had the opportunity to meet up with you at different conferences throughout the nation with CGA, things like that. And I've always been impressed with the next step, because it's not a competition. Obviously, we're all about damage prevention. We're all about keeping excavators safe. But to educate the contractors and those excavators who are out there to know that 811 does have a point to where it goes so far, and then there's more to go on beyond that. So before we talk about the private lines, let's just remind everybody the emphasis of 811. We all know what 811 is. You found our podcast, so hopefully you do. But it starts with us. It starts with that phone call to 811 or go into our website, ok811.org, placing that locate request at least 3 business days before your project's going to begin, so that the facility operators have the opportunity to locate those lines. OK811 is not the locating company. So what we're going to do is we're going to notify the facility operators. Those operators are then going to either locate those lines with their own employees or use a third-party damage prevention partner to go out and locate lines for them. So that part's already important, and that's something that Blood Hound, any other private line locating company, everyone is going to stress the importance of 811 first. So now 811's been called. When should that call to a private line locating company happen? Same day, after 811 is finished? What's the timeline on that second call for private line locating?
Yeah, it's a great question, MG. And just to reiterate what you said, our call center, when you call into our call center or ask for an estimate per job, you will see one of the first things we say to anybody calling in is, you got to make sure you call 811 first to protect yourself and the public lines that are out there before they hit the line of demarcation. And that's where the private stuff starts at. So if I were going to tell you when you should start that call, MG, you should actually start it in the design phase and start that in the SUE factor of it. That is the most helpful. If you're doing any type of major project, you want to start that there. You want to call 811, get your design tickets in, and then you want to call a private utility locating company to come out and locate the private lines that could be in the area. There's a study Purdue University did where it saves you, for every dollar you spent in the design phase, it saves you $5 if you had to do it in the construction phase. And if you're doing $1 million project, right, that really adds up to be a lot of money. So we always recommend, and we work with several engineering companies and general contractors and such that they do exactly that and have a lot of success of not hitting anything and not having a lot of change orders or change routes for their water line going in, or the building going in itself, right? So we always like to start in the design phase. But if you're doing a project that let's just call it, you've got a emergency dig or just call it a regular routine dig at a home, right? You're going to put in a water service to someone's house. You should, if you're a normal excavator in that area, you'll probably know which one of the utilities stops at the curb line, right? A lot of municipalities and water service lines, they'll stop at the curb, so you may have to deal with that. So I would call it in simultaneously. So when you hang up with 811, or if you do your e-ticket entry, however you do it, then reach out to your private locating company such as Blood Hound, and then we can get it set up. And we'd like to come out after the public locator does. So if your state is a two-day or 3-day state, depending on your time frame, we like to come out after, so then there's no confusion on it, right? We don't want to come out and mark something and then maybe a locating company or someone thinks it's already marked and then they don't mark their own stuff. So we like to come out shortly after. So if your state was a 3-day, if we came out on that 4th day, that would be the ideal situation.
Perfect. Yeah, for our listeners, Oklahoma is a 3 business day state. The way the law reads is no less than 48 hours, not including the date of notification. And so just to make it easier for us, we just say 3 business days. If you're always doing 3 business days, you're always right. If you're trying to figure out the law, you may be wrong sometimes. So 3 business days will always take care of you, and minimum notice before an excavation project. And then after those locators get their all deposit response delivered to you, that's when that next call to a private line locating company such as Blood Hound should be made. So thanks for breaking that down for us. So can you give me some examples of private lines that maybe a contractor may not be thinking of right off the bat?
Sure. So when you had, if you remember right, MG, when you had your safety conference in Oklahoma, we came out to do a presentation for your team, which was a great conference. If you get a chance to attend the conference, absolutely attend that conference. It was well attended, and a lot of education was put out there. And that's what you want to go to those things for. But prior to us going to the conference, we actually stopped by the Okie 811 headquarters, if you will, and looked around there to say, okay, let's find some private utilities. It didn't take us very long to find the private utilities. There are parking lot lights. They're in an industrial area, so there's parking lot lights all throughout their complex there. So instantly, once you see lights in a parking lot, 99% of the time, those are going to be private owned. So if you call 811, put in your e-ticket, they're not going to get marked by the public or the contract locator, because once it hits a meter, in most cases, that becomes a private line. That's a line of demarcation. So that's when you start saying, oh, okay, now you got to get a private locator out there to locate these things, right? Oddly enough, so as we started marking out the electric lines to the street lights that were in the parking lot, then we noticed the gate in the back. So the gate had a keypad that opens the gate back and forth. That ends up being a private utility line as well. So if you were going to be digging anywhere around that gate area, that's a private utility line. So yeah, all those type of things, sprinkler systems, irrigation, lines feeding a sign out in front in an industrial area like that, those are all private lines. Gas stations, MG, are a really big one, because if you pulled up to a gas station to get gas like we all do every day, right? Even though the prices are a little high, we still have to get the gas, right? So, but no, so when you go up that gas station, next time you're there, anybody listening, just look around. That car wash that is at that gas station, it not only has a private electric line feeding it, it's got private water lines feeding it, right? It's got drainage lines feeding it. So those are all things that would be feeding that. That's just the car wash part of it.
Right.
Then the scary part of it is the fuel lines that feed from the underground tanks to the actual pumps. Those are all private utility lines. Those are all private gas lines. So if you had to dig a hole anywhere in that parking lot, you've got to make sure you have those fuel lines feeding the gas pumps. And then, of course, the electric lines that feed the pump itself to take your credit card payment. Those are all private utility lines once you get into that situation. So if you really look around next time you're at a gas station, you'll be surprised that what you would see that if you didn't think about it, you don't know what you don't know, right? In some situations. So some people do think that when you call 811, everything gets marked out. And it's not 811's fault by any stretch. It's what utility companies own and the limitations of what they have, right? So that's why they become private at that point. We talked a little bit earlier about residentials. So residentials can be anywhere from just if the municipality or the water company stops at the curb, you're going to get a water company feeding into the home. You've got a sewer lateral feeding into the home. If you have a garage or an outbuilding that is fed from your house as a private line to that becomes a private electric line of some sort, right? Yeah. If you have swimming pool, anything like that, now you've got lines feeding, your swimming pool, all that type of stuff comes into play. So residentials may seem cut and dry sometimes, but they can have some private stuff around them as well.
Yeah. Here in Oklahoma, in our rural areas, there's also propane and then the septic tank and stuff like that a lot of people don't think of as well. So this isn't just for suburbia Oklahoma, it's anywhere that would have additional lines that goes above and beyond what the facility operators own and maintain.
That's a great point. You know what I saw when I was out in Oklahoma? A lot of out by the edge of the road, I saw gas meters out by the edge of the road. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not sure about the gas companies in Oklahoma, but I know the gas companies in Pennsylvania, where I'm at right now, in Ohio, once it hits that meter, that becomes a private line feeding to the home. So you could have, like you said, in suburbia, you could have a 50-foot private line, but out in, rural areas, propane lines is just as dangerous if they were to get hit. And, if you have a propane tank that sits 100 feet from your house, you got to know how that line gets to your home, right? Or to your garage or to your outbuilding or whatever it may be. And, safety on that is the key to make sure you get those located.
Outstanding. Yeah. I know that in our efforts to the professional excavators, I think it's almost common sense now. Hopefully they understand they've dug enough to know that they've seen the private lines, or at least understand it. Maybe the bigger companies. I see you shaking your head, but hopefully the knowledge is out there. I'm definitely trying my best in Oklahoma to tell everybody. But I think for the homeowners that are doing that DIY, yeah, I said that right. The do-it-yourself project over the weekend.
DIY, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. My name may be an acronym, but I'm terrible with acronyms. I always am concerned with those who only make a phone call once every couple of years to us regarding 811 for messaging for those homeowners, the ones who are doing random projects. What is a good way to reinforce the private lines needing to be located? What's something that has worked well for marketing for Blood Hound or just a general public?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a question that I wish I had the absolute answer to be honest with you. But it's just like 811, right? I mean, 811. What is it? A third of the country or something even knows what 811 is. As far as not professional excavators. So it's a hard message to get out. If they don't know what 811 is, how do you educate them to be right? So we do everything we can to post stuff on different social medias about it, anywhere from Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that type of stuff. Just trying to get the message out there somehow, some way. We attend events like yours. Matter of fact, Tomorrow, I'm traveling down to York, Pennsylvania for a Pennsylvania One Call Safety Day. And, they do educational stuff as well. So we try as much as we can, like you do, MG, to just get that. I tell my guys, I literally tell everybody that works for me, I say, if you're talking to your neighbor, if you're talking to somebody in the grocery store, explain what you do. When someone says, what do you do? Don't just say I'm a utility locator. Explain it. Educate them, right? It's just the knowledge that gets out there for their safety and their neighbor's safety in some situations, right? Or the excavator safety. And it's just constantly talking to folks and letting them know literally verbally what we do and what's could possibly be out there.
Yeah, I was talking with some friends the other day who good length of friendship, like 2-3 years. I've been working for OK811 for 10. So, I kind of thought they knew what I do and what's going on. And we were talking about something, someone hired a plumber and ran into an issue and hit something. And it was a private line. It was a private line issue. And they looked at me and they're like, you were supposed to take care of that. And I'm like, actually, I don't locate. You did call 811, right? And they're like, yeah, of course we did. And then I had to explain what that next step was. And I was more bummed that plumber didn't make that second call more so than the homeowner having the issues. But it was an interesting conversation. So it's one of those things where, just like you said, people may know 811's a thing, but they may not know the next step, and to go above and beyond and look out for your friends and neighbors and communities by explaining all the facets of that, because the big thing is damage prevention. And regardless if you're on the private line locating side of it, if you're on the facility operator or utility maintain side of it, we want to prevent damage. So that kind of brings us into kind of the last portion of our conversation today, is damage prevention. That is kind of a big topic. It's an umbrella of an industry. But when someone says damage prevention, what are some things that comes to mind for you, Jordan?
Wow, it's a great question, MG. And I've been in this industry, and you're hook, line, and sinker as well, right? When you get in this industry, you start thinking about things and seeing things and understanding how dangerous digging is in general. Your backyard, in an industrial park, whether you're professional, private, whatever you are, preventing a damage to a facility is important. Preventing a injury, a catastrophic event, that is the scariest thing that I think of when I think of damage prevention as a whole, is preventing that. To be honest with you, that catastrophic event scares me to death, right? I don't want anybody to get hurt on our job site. I don't want anybody to get hurt. If I hear about it and it's in another state, and I hear about it reading an article or something, I literally cringe, because we've been doing this, like you said, you've been at it for 10 years. I've been at this thing for 28 years. I'm just still amazed at what people just don't know. And it's not their fault. They just don't know what they don't know, right? And you try to educate, and all the 811 centers that I've worked with are huge in education, and you just can't get to every single person, or they don't understand once you get to them. Oh, there's a private side to it as well. So, I just continue to think damage prevention is protecting everybody from themselves in a way, because again, we don't want anything hit public, private, and we can get out there and help protect that, and you get out there and get that message out there. I just think we just got to keep leading that charge, MG, with what you guys do every day, and I know that's what Blood Hound and I focus on every day.
Outstanding. Yeah. I don't even need to add anything to that. You did such a good job. But exactly, when it comes to damage prevention, the utilities, the facilities themselves, they're important. Obviously, we want to be able to watch the games. We want to be able to make the phone calls. We want to be able to take the showers, right? All those things make sense. But ultimately, it's about the safety of those around us, those who are doing the work, those who might get injured or worse. So definitely damage prevention is very important. And I'm glad to hear that you and Blood Hound and all the other partners that Okie 811 has that same passion and understanding of the importance of it. One thing that I would be remiss if I didn't mention it is Blood Hound is a damage prevention partner of Okie 811 each year. You partner with us with our expo. You are promoted through our website and on our social media and stuff. And you're one of the private line locating companies. I want to say I have favorites, but I don't. But you are one of the private line locating companies and that we have as that partner. And if anybody is looking for somebody to work with private line locating, you can find Bloodhound's contact information on our website. Just look for our membership directory and you'll be able to see that.
We want to ask you to subscribe to our podcast so that you can be the first to hear each new episode. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to follow the channel for not only our podcast, but also educational videos on Okie 811 services. Follow us on social media to know of upcoming educational events, such as safety days or our expo, or to know the next time we may be hiring. Thank you for listening to Digging Deep, an Okie 811 podcast. After you subscribe, be sure to share.
So that being said, we have the ability to promote 811. We're going to do that and continue to do that. We're now getting the messaging out there to make a private line locating company the second call, and we're always going to be focused on damage prevention, regardless of which phase of a project we're on. Is there anything that you feel like we should kind of wrap up this conversation with? Any final thoughts before we let our listeners make those phone calls to us?
I would just say, don't make an assumption. Call 811, call a private utility locating company, get somebody out there to take a look, just to be safe. And it's about safe excavation for everybody. So I just think that that's a final message that I would like to get out there, NG.
Oh, I agree completely. Assumptions are more accidents happen. We've seen it time and time again out in the field. So listeners, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. I hope you practice it, understand the importance of private lines and getting those located. If you haven't already, please follow us on YouTube, like us, and subscribe to us anywhere you're listening to your podcast. And that way you can share this information with those around you. So thank you for everything you do to keep Oklahoma safe. Until next time, this is MG with Okie 811. Thanks.